The IR turret is built, so now it's time to start hacking. So in a Mark Rober fashion, we will be programming our robot to reject somebody else who's trying to use it. We press a button and then they won't be able to use it other than just turning it left or right. As soon as they try and do up, down, or the fire, it will shake its head no at them and droop. After 3 times, it will pick up and spin around, firing all of the arrows as if saying, I'm done, I'm not playing your game, just leave me be. Now, while we walk through some of the code in my hack, I will also be covering 5 components of code that will help get you familiar with those, as well as 5 tips that will definitely help you out while you begin to hack on your own. And the first thing we want to cover in this video are known as comments. Now, comments are notes to yourself or to future users so they can understand what is going on in the code. Now, with this IDE, to help beginner users, they have a lot of comments. Most lines have a comment so that way you can understand what is going on for that specific line. Now, you can use the comments, you can add your own comments, and to do that, there are one of 2 different ways. You can do a paragraph comment, or you can do a single line comment and leave whatever note that you want. Now, what is interesting, if you look at somebody else's code, you may find some very entertaining lines of comments that aren't intended for anybody to see, but other coders that get stuck dealing with their project. They can be quite entertaining. In fact, tell me your favorite comment that you've seen in code or you've left in code in the comments below. The second thing that you will see quite frequently is known as a variable. Variables are a huge aspect of code. In essence, they are what allows you to take a value, assign it to basically a container that has a name, and anytime you use that name, it will reference the value that is in that container. Now, to declare a variable, you need 2 main parts. You need the data type as well as the variable name. Now, that is the essentials of what you need, but a lot of times you will see a variable initialized with the first assignment of a value. And with that, after the name, you will see an equal sign plus the value that you want to assign to that variable. The one limit to variables, particularly in C++, is there are specific data types or what kind of value you can put in that variable. Int is basically a whole number, meaning you can't try and put a word into an int variable. It won't allow you to do that. Tip number 1 is to clearly name your variables. You will be very happy if you learn to name your variables very clearly so that way you can remember what they are. As you can see in the IDE, you know pretty much exactly what that variable is talking about, what value it is holding, because the variable name tells you exactly. Third part that is used often in code are known as functions. Functions are a section of code that are isolated for a specific purpose. In this code, you see them quite easily as the up move, down move, left move, right move function, giving you the ability to move your turret as you want to. Now, tip number 2 is an acronym known as DRY, meaning don't repeat yourself. Now, it gets pretty easy for you to copy and paste a chunk of code and keep pasting it throughout your code. The problem comes is when you need to update that section of code, you have to do it in every spot that you pasted it into. This is when you want to use a function. Write the function for one time and then call that function in your code. So that way, all you have to do is update the function code, and every time you use it, it will be corrected throughout the rest of the code. So again, don't repeat yourself. As soon as you see yourself trying to copy and paste several lines over and over again, that's when you should be writing your own function to handle that code. The third part of code that we want to cover are conditional statements. Conditional statements are simply understanding whether a value or a certain condition is met. essentially asking the question, is this true or false? If it's true, do this. If it's false, do this part of it. Conditional statements are often evaluated by using some operators, mathematical operators such as an equal sign, greater than or less than sign, and other similar ones or more challenging ones based off of what coding language that you are doing. Now, essentially is this value greater than that value? If it's true, then the condition is met as true and you go to the next line for true. If it's not, it moves to the else if or else depending on how many conditions you have. Once you understand the conditional statements, you understand a big part of the logic in code. Now, tip number 3 is prioritizing your conditional statements. Now, what do I mean by that? Think of it as a flow chart. You get to the first box and it asks you a question. Is this true, yes or no? And then you move on to yes, it's true. Now, second box, is this true, yes or no? No. Move over to the no section. This conditional flow chart allows you to follow the path to get to the answer that you want to get to. So that way you complete the result that makes the most sense. You have to keep in mind code works in the same way. So if you get your conditional statements in the wrong order, it's going to ask the wrong question at the wrong time. So always make sure you prioritize your conditional statements, particularly in your if-else statements, so that way you make sure you follow the path that you want it to follow. The last component we're going to talk about today are loops. There are 3 primary loops that you will see: the main loop, the for loop, and the while loop. Loops are essentially a chunk of code that will repeat itself based off of a condition. Now, the main loop is essentially the app running continuously, waiting to get some input. Now, there's a section of code that is specific for that loop, and you will see that set up as a function where it has the void loop, and then it's just a section of code afterward waiting for input. A for loop will run a specific amount of times based off of the declaration. It will tell it how many times to run. It will run that many times, and then it will stop. A while loop, on the other hand, will run indefinitely until the condition is met. You have to be very careful with while loops because you can create what's known as an infinite loop because the condition never gets met, meaning it's going to keep running because it doesn't know when to stop. There is also the option to add a line called a break line. Use an if statement. If this condition is met in the code, in the loop itself, it will break, and that will actually break out of the loop before the condition is met of the declaration. So tip number 4 is called pseudocode. Pseudocode is essentially writing down what you're wanting to do in a task type list so that way you can keep track of what you're trying to do. Sometimes a bigger program has so many steps, it's too much to handle at one time. So if you break it down into smaller chunks, write it using a comment as a list of things for you to do, it makes it a lot easier to chunk it and then complete the task little by little. Since we understand code a little bit better, let's go ahead and walk through the code that I added to create this hack. Now, at the beginning, at the top, you'll see that I created 2 new variables. One is a Boolean that is called prank, and I set it to false. Basically, I'm setting the trap, but we haven't triggered it yet. The second one is an int called prank count that just sets it at 0, so that way every time that somebody hits the up button, down button, or the OK button to fire, it will add 1 more to that prank count. So once it hits 3, it will do the full execution of the prank. Now, to trigger the prank, I added the hashtag command in the switch in case section. So when I press the hashtag button, game on. The prank is set, and when I hand it to the next person, it will run the prank execute function if they press the up, down, or OK button. So that's where I have to add the next section of code to those 3 buttons. So you'll see a quick little question. If prank, meaning if prank is now true, run the function prank execute. The majority of the code that I added is in the prank execute function. This is where you'll see a couple of extra functions nested into it, as well as the full execution of the little minor tweaks that I did to get it to make the action that I wanted to happen. So first it's going to ask if the prank count is at 3. If it's not, it skips a bunch of that code and gets to the else statement to do the shake head no, as well as the sad function, and then adds to that prank count. That's what the prank count plus plus means. It's adding 1 to the prank count. The magic happens when they've hit the button 3 times. That's when it meets the condition to trigger the rest of the prank. And that's when it will tip up, shake its head no 1 more time, angle back a little bit more, start spinning a circle and firing all the darts in a mad chaos. In the end, it's a successful hack. It does what I wanted it to do, and it's unique, not something that was originally in the code. The other detail you need to understand is most of this code really isn't new. Most of it is modified from one of the other functions, whether it's the up function, the left-right move function, that just gets the movement that I was wanting. So once you can understand those components of code, you'll be surprised how easy it is to take the code that's available, modify it, tweak it, and make it your own. Tip number 5, and arguably the most important one. Download your code files. Now in the Arduino world, they're known as sketches, and they end with the .ini file. Once you download them, transfer them to your HackPack hack folder so that way you can keep track of all of your code files. The other benefit is in the IDE, you can upload any INO sketch that you want. So you can work on multiple projects, download the one, upload a new one, and you can carry on using the current Mark Rober IDE available. One of the worst things that can happen is after multiple hours working on this project, you add another section of code, but now you keep getting a bunch of errors. You can't figure out what's going on. It's not working, and then you try and back out what you put in, and you can't get back to where you were. Now you have to essentially, oh crap, what just happened?